Hello and welcome to Reminiscences with Engineer Musa Daji Abdullahi. He is from Katsina, born in 1941, and after initial schooling in Katsina and then in England, he was a teacher, science teacher in secondary schools, and eventually ending in Ahmadu Bello University after a postgraduate degree as a lecturer in engineering. From there, he was the head of many institutions in this part of the country, from School of Science and Technology in Zaria to Katsina Polytechnic, to Kaduna Polytechnic, and then he switched into the civil service where he did many things. I was director in the Ministry of Education and Works, as you will hear. Thank you, sir, for joining us in this program. And can I start by asking about your early days in Katsina? It appears you went to a normal primary school in those days in Katsina. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Daji Kabir Yusuf, thank you very much for this honor. Yes, maybe we have heard of Kayelwa Primary School in Katsina.
Yes.
That's why I went, that's why I started in 1948. From there to Katsina Middle School and to Bariwa College Zaria, and then overseas.
Was it unusual to go to Barewa? Normally, one would have expected you go to Katsina College, which is much nearby to you.
No, Katsina, after primary school 4 years, you go to middle school.
Right.
Now, you may spend 2-3 years in middle school. Some will take examinations and go to Bariwa College,
Right.
and others will proceed to finish middle 4,
Right.
which was then the highest qualification. But a few may pass an examination and go to Bariwa College. I recall 7 of us went to Bariwa College in 1954. During those days.
How come you won a scholarship after Barewa to go to England for further studies?
Yes, in those days there was a Northern Education Development Fund started by the Sardona of Sokoto, Abdullahi, Isa Kaita, and others, who are Northern students who did very well in the West African Examination Council were picked and sent to England to train, mainly in the professional fields. I think we were the 2nd or 3rd batch on that occasion. There were people like Nuhuba Mali, we call him.
Yes.
Soba, Umaru Soba, and others. In fact, when I reached England, I found 2 other Northerners who won the same scholarship. They were from the Kabba secondary school then. And we went to the same college for GC advanced level. And eventually, each one of us went to different universities, but we all did engineering.
Right.
Unfortunately, all those were late now.
How was the experience in England? You are a young man from Katsina and Zaria a little bit. Suddenly you find yourself in Manchester, I believe, for your degree?
I first went to Dundee.
Scotland?
Scotland, for GCE A level. I don't know why, but I think the arrangement was between the Chief Education Officer in the northern region then, one called McCausland, obviously a Scottish man.
Yes.
So most of us went to Scotland for the GCE A level. 1 year, 2 years. After I did 1 year and then proceeded to Manchester. After that is the university of your choice.
Yeah. But how was the experience in Scotland? I mean, straight from, you are young then, of course, and finding yourself in that environment without any family or actually support.
That's correct. Very young. In those days, they had arrangement where they keep you with a family. And so you stay with a family. We used to call them digs. And in fact, the lady I stayed with, we are still in communication with her children or grandchildren, you know. So you really don't have any problem of family-wise, especially if you happen to have a good landlord or landlady who will look after you.
But did you experience any discrimination, any alienation from the society?
Yes. Yes, I did, especially in the neighborhood where I stayed. For example, I was often asked to speak my language, especially by the children who was the impression that the African had no language until the white man came and told them how to speak, you know, not to mention to write. But most of it was out of curiosity, much out of curiosity rather than
hostility. So you didn't feel any hostility?
Very rare, but it is there. I could recall going through a park and suddenly I was called names, nigger, something like that. But we tolerated it. Generally, the people were quite good and accommodating, especially in Scotland in those days.
Yeah.
It was immediately after independence.
Yes.
And I must say, Kabiru, in those days, northern Nigeria was held in high esteem. See, I could recall an occasion when we were in a group, and there was a theft. Nigerians were excluded from any examination. The reputation was that a Nigerian would never steal. So there was, what do they call it, an identity parade. We were excluded, about 5 of us Nigerians. And eventually they found the culprit, and it was not a Nigerian. So you see how time has changed. It's all a question of leadership.
How was your experience in Manchester during a degree? I believe you read physics?
Yes. All my life, even from secondary school, I wanted to teach physics. And that was what I want to do. We did pure math, applied math and physics for the GCE A level. And then honors physics at the University of Manchester. University of Manchester is very famous for physics.
Yes.
And that really stimulated us. And all I wanted to do was to be a teacher. And that's what I came back home to do.
Yeah. You got a second class upper. Normally, that allows you to go for postgraduate and then be a university lecturer. But you came back to be a secondary school teacher in Funtua.
Yes. But I had in my mind the possibility of going to do postgraduate. I really wanted to come home after 4 years, 1 year GCE level and 3 years degree. I really wanted to come home. So nothing could have stopped me joining. I did get admission. First to do a postgraduate diploma in education and then postgraduate, but I came home. In fact, we were interviewed by the then chairman of the Civil Service Commission, Kazauri, maybe
Yes.
Yes.
Ambassador
And,
Kazori.
yes. And I was offered a job as a signals officer in the Navy. But I had no intention of joining the Navy. Anyway, I came home and did what I wanted to do, teach.
You taught in Funtua and then in Sokoto?
1 year in Funtua, and then suddenly I got a notice that the Sarona of Sokoto and the then Minister of Education, of blessed memories, Issa Keita, Federal Government College Sokoto has just been opened, and there was no northerner as a teacher. So the then Minister of Education was asked to find a northerner and send him to Sokoto to teach. And it happened that late Issa Keita knew me. I just said, okay, you go to Sokoto. So I went.
Yeah.
I was there for 1 year.
So eventually you came back to Ahmadu Bello to study for postgraduate. And I saw somewhere that you are one of the first person to graduate from the postgraduate program. Is this correct?
That's
of
correct.
Ahmadu Bello University?
Yes, this is a record which you can check.
Yeah.
I graduated in June 1968 as the first person to get a postgraduate degree from ABU.
And this degree happened to be in engineering, right?
Electrical engineering.
So suddenly you switch from physics to engineering. I don't know the relationship.
There
now.
isn't much difference.
I
In
see.
fact, in my first degree, I did a lot of electronics. So I had no problem in switching.
Yeah. Now, if you, as you said earlier, teaching has always been in your own view, something you want to do. I wonder why you didn't quite stay long in ABU. Why didn't you do the conventional thing about doing a PhD and then remaining there as a lecturer for a long time?
That is a very good question, which I have always asked myself. In fact, when I was leaving ABU, there was a lot of pleas for me not to leave. I could recall at that time, late Ahmadu Kumasi was a member of council of ABU then.
Right.
He called me and said, don't leave. But then at the same time, I had offers from some staff of the then North Central State Minister of Education, in particular, late Yahya Hamza, who was our house captain at Bariwa College. There was a vacancy for the post of Chief Education Officer, technical, and they wanted somebody to fill that position. I applied, I was interviewed, I was offered the post, so I left ABU.
So suddenly you left being a teacher and you went to the civil service. I mean, was it an easy transition for you?
No. Because I was still in education. I had no problem whatsoever, especially given the fact that I still maintain my connection with the academia. I had my books, everything. So really I was more or less straddling two areas at the same time.
Yeah. What led to your going back to head the Zaria School of, I believe it's called School of Arts and Sciences then?
Yes.
CAST?
Yes.
Yes. Was it just a civil service posting or is something that you sought yourself?
More or less. There was a time when Brigadier Abakari was the then governor. And North Central State scored 22% in WAEC. He was mad, very mad. And he ordered that a School of Arts and Science be established for the North Central State then. And he appointed myself and another person in the ministry to work out the establishment of CAS Zaria, which we did. One expatriate called Father Kanti, and CAST was established in Zaria. Yahya Hamza was the first principal. And there again, when Yahya Hamza was leaving, he more or less got me into it to apply and take over from him, which I did.
How was the experience?
I think probably that was the height of my experience. Because there I met students from all over North Central states. They were gathered there to do HSC, then higher school certificate, and then eventually IJMB for university admission. And we did produce quite a lot. In fact, at one time, most of the workers in the civil service of Kaduna State and the Katsina State could have been products of CAS Zaria. So it was a very memorable experience indeed. With the students with whom I have maintained connection up to today. In fact, at one time, late Umar Musa, when he was governor, told me he relied mostly on product of CAS Zaria. We were both teachers together.
Oh, he was a teacher. He was not a student. He was a student then.
No, he was teaching. He was teaching physics.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. In fact, we moved to Katsina together when Katsina Polytechnic was established.
So you went to Hassan Osman Katsina as the rector. I believe the first one.
Yes.
To set it up and as an institution.
From the scratch.
From scratch, yes. How did that go?
Well, we had every support from the governors then. From late Belariba Musa, who gave us all the support we needed. Abba Musa Rimi, I happened to be a classmate, so I almost got whatever I wanted for Katsina Polytechnic. More than I wanted to establish Katsina Polytechnic. And then later on, late Lawal Keita. So we really had everything we wanted. In fact, at one time, we were even lending the state money. Can you imagine that?
You are making enough money from the school fees?
We were getting everything we wanted. More than we can spend. At one time, there was a crunch, and I think the family secretary called me and said they wanted 3 million something. So we gave them.
Yeah.
When they had money, they returned it. And so we really had a beautiful institution built as Katsina Polytechnic.
Is it still beautiful?
Yes.
Is it still beautiful as an institution?
Yes.
Is it still going well?
Everything is going well because the groundwork was really well done. In fact, most other institutions seem to be based on the plan we developed for Katsina Polytechnic. The Umar Musa Yar'Adua University was planned along the lines of Hassan Osman Katsina Polytechnic.
You also had another interesting experience of heading the School of Aviation in Zaria. I don't know how that came about because I thought it's a federal government institution, that one. So did you leave the Polytechnic to go there? I think, is it after you moved to the federal system now?
No, I was permanent secretary, Kaduna State.
Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Right.
Lawyer Keita, when he became governor, invited me as permanent secretary. I was there for 3 years. Somewhere along the lines, I think I had some disagreement with the commissioner then. And I found that I could not stay. And there was an advertisement for principal. It was then Civil Aviation Training Center, Zaria. I applied, I was interviewed, and offered the position. So it was just by some kind of accident.
Because you had nothing to do with flying up to that point
Nothing,
in your career.
nothing whatsoever, except that some of the courses I had some interest in were being taught there.
The electronics
Electronics,
part.
yes.
So how was it heading a flying school?
Well, I was there for 1 year. When there was a coup, the coup that removed
Shagari?
Buhari.
Oh, Buhari.
Well, that removed Shagari and brought in
83.
No, the coup that Buhari, it was in fact Buhari who appointed me as there during the military regime. And then there was another coup.
That's the Babangida coup.
Yes. I think they felt that I was part of the thing. Suddenly somebody came as commandant of the civil aviation, an Air Force officer. So I had to relinquish everything. And I was there in that place for 1 year without even seeing a file. I was just reading newspapers.
So you are pushed aside.
I was pushed aside. You know. So one day I got a letter, your service is no longer required. You know. I told them, you can't sack me.
That must be quite a shock.
A big shock. You can't sack me. I was appointed by Mr. President. And the board cannot just sit there and say, you are sacked. So I went to Abuja and made some contacts, even right to the president then. And he questioned.
Who was the president? Babangida?
Babangida.
Right.
He questioned why I should be sacked. I was reinstated. And a job happened to be available as the Federal Minister of Education, as Director, Science and Technology Education. And as God would have it, Yahya Hamza was a coordinating director at that time. So he invited me. I filled the Civil Service Commission form, and I was offered appointment as Director of Technology and Science Education, a much higher position than the one from which I was sacked.
So how was your experience in the federal ministry? You were both in education and I believe in works at some point as a director also.
And though you could stay a director for as long as your services are required. So I was Director of Science and Technical Education for 8 years, and then posted, so to speak, to the Federal Ministry of Works as Director of Engineering Services. I was there for 4 years, and when my retirement came on the basis of 60 years of service, I retired.
Yes. This was in 2000.
2000.
Since then, I believe you also went back to teaching, which
Yes.
which is quite unusual. Looking at your biography, CV, I mean, you went to Mina to teach in the Federal University. Normally, I thought many people who have reached that level will find it comfortable enough to retire. You don't really need. Do you think you need a job, or is just the experience or the pleasure of wanting to teach?
Both. There again, it was just a matter of coincidence. I met the then Vice Chancellor, Professor Daniel, who happened to have been a friend. He's late now. He simply asked, what are you doing now? I said, I was doing nothing.
After your retirement?
After my retirement, just a few months. So, okay, come to me now, we'll take you. He called me for interview. and I was offered appointment as senior lecturer and head of department of computer engineering, electrical and computer engineering. I was there for 7 years.
So you moved fully to Mina from?
No.
Yes.
I would go there, I spent few days from Abuja, spend few days and come back to Abuja. I could have continued if not for that road.
Yeah.
Abuja, Mina. It was really what defeated me.
You could have continued teaching.
I could have continued because I had the opportunity. If I could, their age would have not mattered.
Yeah.
But I couldn't manage that road anymore. And anyway, I left. And even then, I had something going because Umar Musa became governor
Of Katsina.
And I was offered appointment as chairman of council of Hassan Osman Katsina Polytechnic.
The same school where you were.
The same
which you
school
set
where
up
we
before,
were together.
Both heirs.
Yes. So I had something to do. And eventually, when he became president, he also invited me to become chairman of the National Board for Technical Education. So you see, one thing leads to another. We had such a good relationship with late Umar Musa Radwa.
Yeah. So in effect, you have not really retired. You have always been moving from one assignment to another.
Well, Kabir,
Because
I think one should never really retire. If you are able to move and talk, your services are needed here and there, why not? At the same time, I have not made any wealth, so to speak. So any opportunity to augment a livelihood, one will pick it. At the same time, rubbing minds with the younger ones keep you alive, so to speak.
So what are you doing now? Since, I believe you still are on some innovation committee of MBTE, but that doesn't sound like a full-time engagement.
Here again is a matter of chance. I simply met Professor Idris Bugaji. Now, the elder brother of Professor Idris Bugaji, Audu Bugaji, you may have heard of him, was a classmate. And we are more or less neighbors in the family here in Katsina. So here again, I met him. I said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm just at home, reading and writing." He was then the rector of Kaduna Polytechnic. He offered me a post on contract as chief lecturer
In Kaduna Poly.
Kaduna Polytechnic. So I went back to teaching again. I was teaching for 2 years when he opened a directorate of renewable energy. And I was there as a director for 1 year, up to April this year, when I did not renew my contract.
Right.
I thought
So you've been working up to the time you're 80.
Yes. Still, Professor Bugaji did not leave me alone. He created a committee on innovation, evaluation, and implementation. There are thousands of projects in the polytechnics, even in the universities, undertaken by students over the years.
Yes.
Some of them are good enough to be commercialized. So he set up a committee, and that's what we are doing now. Look at those that can be developed to commercialization. And I happen to be the chairman of the committee. That is what I do now.
Right. So is it as you said earlier, your philosophy that work is really, there is no end to it.
No.
One should keep at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not about the money, it's about engagement.
About keeping yourself busy. Unless you are busy, unless the mind is challenged, you go to sleep. And you never wake up.
Yeah. What other things do you do besides the formal work, besides the science, engineering work? Do you have other activities, economic, maybe farming, and which people tend to do when they retire?
My main activity now really is writing. I have lots of papers, mainly in physics. You see, my physics and engineering backgrounds perhaps made one to be more versatile. And in this age of computer, there is no limit to what you can access. So I spend most of my time now, virtually morning to night, on the computer. I have lots of papers in what you call these journals.
Academic journals.
Academic journals. And even tomorrow or the day after today, I intend to post one. You know, the interesting thing is that there is no day I don't get comments and discussions from America, from China, all over the world, but hardly from Nigeria. And that really makes me sad.
Yeah. Because a lot of us don't know about this activity. I mean, looking at your CV, I can see the citations, paper you have been published in so many of these journals. But I don't believe this is common knowledge in the academic cycle in Nigeria, unless...
No, especially in physics. You see, in the Nigerian education, we are made to accept, not to challenge. If you challenge, if, for example, you are a postgraduate student in Nigerian university and you disagree with your supervisor, you are finished. In fact, one of the things that really still pains me was during my younger days when a referee rejected my paper on the ground that if what I was saying was correct, it would have amounted to rewriting the books. That is very sad. I was not supposed to know who the referee was, but somehow I got to know. And I found out he was a close friend. So I challenged him and said, Professor so-and-so, if books had not been written, you would not be where you are. So this is the attitude.
Right.
One of the attitudes that really drove me away from physics.
From physics?
Yes. Because, say for example in physics, you are not supposed to say that instinct is wrong. But I have said so.
Yes.
And I try to prove it.
You have obtained one of the formulas, right?
Absolutely. Say, for example, the most important equation in the world, E is equal to mc squared. I have written papers showing that it's wrong. The correct equation should be E is equal to a half mc squared.
Right.
No Nigerian called me to say, Kai, Musa, come and tell us this rubbish you are talking about. All silent.
Yes.
Of course, you wouldn't expect the outside world to entertain such a thought. Because to them, anything is like a god.
Right.
But I expect we Nigerians to start challenging these things.
Yes.
If something is wrong, it is wrong. No matter who says it. And eventually, it will be proved wrong. The ancient equation E is equal to mc squared leads you nowhere. Because it doesn't open other areas other than the thinking that mass is a source of energy, and that's why the atomic bomb comes in and things like that. But academically, it doesn't lead you anywhere. But E is equal half mc squared, open a lot of areas. I'm still waiting for the academia in Nigeria to call me and say, please tell us what we are talking about. I wrote to the National Mathematical Center some time ago, not even an acknowledgement of a reply. But I will continue until my days are over.
Yeah.
Somebody will take it up.
Yeah. What of the international community is, I mean, what response have you gotten challenging such a famous equation like that?
I have invitations now. I want to go to Italy to deliver a paper, which I can't do because I have no money to go. I have another one in Czechoslovakia. I was asking them to just turn my attendant to display or something like that. You see, there is a lot of response from the outside world, not from the point of view of you should challenge or you should not challenge, but come and tell us what we are talking about.
Take the frontiers of knowledge more.
Absolutely.
Yes. What is your aim in all these writings you are doing? You know, people will expect maybe this is something you will have done in the younger days in order to become a professor and be rewarded for it. Now, as a retiree, you are writing and publishing papers in journals. What's the motivation really?
I wouldn't have become a professor if I had taken that attitude. Because somebody somewhere would not have taken a liking to what I am doing. I am able to do what I am doing now because by virtue of having worked somewhere, at least I have something to keep body and soul together.
Yeah.
So now, right from my student days, there are some things in physics which I did not agree with. But I could not say so. Otherwise, I would have failed my examination.
But another way to judge some of these ideas, has any of it been turned into something useful? Have you tried to, let's say, develop some mechanism or something that will help society?
Yes, I believe, though they did not say so, they are now beginning to change some of their designs. You may have heard of what is called the Large Hadron Collider. It is an accelerator, a circular accelerator, straddles Switzerland, about 22 kilometers, where they accelerate protons to the speed of light. There again, protons have been accelerated to the speed of light, but their mass did not become infinite. And now they are beginning to say that there must be a reason, not mass becoming infinite. There must be a reason why the mass, why the velocity reaches a maximum and no more. I believe that they are beginning to look at it.
Yeah.
But of course, it will take time before the world can say, this is so, especially if it is from an unknown African.
Yeah. But the scientific community in Nigeria have not challenged or engaged you on some of these papers you have.
This is the saddest part of it. No.
Yeah.
I am still waiting.
Okay.
In fact, the only challenge I got was going to press for some of my claims. I did publish something some time ago in Daily Trust. And the Nigerian scientific community really did not like it. They said I should have gone through the established channel of communication.
The peer review journals.
Yes, but if the channels are closed, what can one do?
Yeah. You look to me like a very comfortable retiree. You say you cannot travel and all that, but it seems you're comfortable. You're doing okay.
Thanks to my students and associates who always came to my aid whenever I needed it.
So how do you occupy your days now? I mean, beside, of course, your work as a physicist, the right papers you do, do you do any other thing, any extracurricular activity, any hobbies?
Yes, I do a little bit of walking, gardening around the house, and I do attend functions, naming ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, and of course, funeral ceremonies. So one try to remain with the community.
Are you involved in anything in Katsina? I don't know if Katsina has an elders forum or something. Are you involved at that level of?
Good you mentioned that. We started the Katsina Daura Unity and Progress Forum. We founded it, and now I am the chairman of the board of trustees. Yes.
What do you do?
Well, we try to keep the people interested in the community and who should represent them and things like that. When we started, the government thought that we were against them, but later on, they found that really we were helping them, and they also helped us.
How do you fund it? This kind of initiatives tend to founder or collapse because there is no funds to run it.
Absolutely. When we started, we were taxing ourselves.
That's good.
And occasionally you find one or two individuals who could even put in a lot, even sometimes anonymously. And as I said, the government too, indirectly, does help. Especially, we do some training, vocational training, and educational training, using facilities at Polytechnic, University, the entrepreneurship center, and things like that. So, as long as you don't give up, you achieve something. There are frustrations, because sometimes you find even some of the people among you are just airing for some political recognition, even positions. Okay, let them go. But the few who remain will achieve the purpose.
Yeah. But are you not a bit removed from the Katsina situation sitting here in Kaduna? Is this something you can do effectively, retiring here in Kaduna rather than be in Katsina itself?
Well, I don't intend to continue long in that capacity. As long as we are able to get some other people to take over. The important thing, as I said, is not to give up. There are frustrations in running a community-oriented organization in this part of the world. But we should not give up.
Yeah. One of the things you spoke about earlier is leadership, how the way we are being seen, because you are talking of in England, the collapse of leadership has led to a negative image for Nigerians abroad. But I think the challenge at home is even more. What do you think is responsible for this failure of leadership? You have been a leader yourself for the last 50 years. Why have we failed? Why have we lost it?
Yes, that was a million-dollar question. As virtually everybody asks that question, but hardly do we do anything about it. Somehow, money seems to have spoiled everything. Everything now seems to be monetized. You know, even children. You know, and this is something we have to fight right from the bottom, from the primary school, secondary school, and so on. The amount of cheating that takes place in our schools is really frightening. Really frightening. Let's take, for example, Kazana, probably the place we know most. You can hardly find a primary schools where they don't aid and abet examination malpractice. And yet, we do nothing about it. In fact, recently I was at a meeting where the commissioner was boasting that in the secondary school, none obtained less than 98% pass.
What?
In the main 5 credits and above with English and math in the WAEC and NECO.
98%.
98%. We told him, Honorable Commissioner, sir, that was impossible. He took offense. He was our friend. He took offense. So I took time to really examine, and I found that he was right. From the records of the ministry, no school went below 98%. Most of them had 100%. From the records of the ministry.
In WAEC.
In WAEC and NECO. What happened? The principal were ordered to reach that level or it will be sacked. And of course, they complied with the collusion of the examiners. And this is the system we tolerate. Such a system will breed nothing but miscreants. So it's the first thing we should fight. The tendency of examination malpractice was just too bad. At one time, I even had a daughter of mine. They were talking among themselves how the examination papers were brought to them a day before the examination. I couldn't believe it. I just overheard it. So I called one of them to confirm. And she said, yes. I mean, tears came into my eyes. What are we building? The first intake we had at UMU,
Umar Musa
University, failed because they did not go through the school well. And this sort of thing still happens. I think if there anything we do, Haji Kabir, is to look at this issue and do something about it.
Yeah. But who will do something about it? The political leadership is aware of this problem, and they are not doing it. So who will do it?
I don't know.
No?
We. For example, if what we are saying now is really publicized, those doing it will come to shame. And those who are not happy about it may try to stop it, but it has to be stopped. You see, in fact, recently when I went home, I was blackmailed in paying money for one of my nephews to take NECO. After I paid all the expenses, I was again asked to pay some money for examination materials. I went and asked the school headmaster, as a private school, why this? And he opened up. He said, we had to pay the examiners, otherwise we'll pay. Our students will fail. You know, I asked him exactly what you said. Is then the ministry aware of this? He said the ministry staff too, those who come, have to be paid. You know? So we parents are also to blame.
So do you have any specific suggestion on how we can deal with this problem of exam malpractice, given all the years you have spent in the education sector?
The ministries of education can do it if they wish. But as of now, they are the ones who aid and abet the malpractice. If they don't do it, the school principals will dare not do it.
You are a contemporary of our outgoing president, Buhari. What is your view of his performance?
Yes. In fact, we stayed with Buhari for 1 year in the middle school.
Middle school?
Yes.
So Katsina.
Katsina. We came in 1952, and I think he came in 1953. In fact, we were quite good friends. He certainly had that streak of austerity and cleanliness. As you can see, he was never involved in these things which our military boys are famous of. We can give him that credit. Probably he should have remained as a military man and not involved in politics. But now, I don't know what his history will make of him. But this misadventure into politics. We can only wish him the best of luck and God's guidance. As he said, he had done his best. Well, we have to give him that. He himself said his best, he was not good enough. Maybe not. But time will tell.
Do you have hope that the changes we're having, as you said, there is no incentive? People in politics, people are there to win and stay. But do you have hope that these changes that have happened now can maybe turn things around?
Yes. Things have to turn around. Things have to. Nigeria is a very resilient country. And we are more united than we really think. I think we shall survive all these travails and settle to doing what is good. I have every hope that the present regime may have seen to it that they have no other choice but to do the right thing. Because we are at the bottom of the ladder. The only thing we can do is rise up.
What is a typical day like? I know you do a lot of writing and computer, but how do you a typical day when from the time you get up to the end of the day?
Well, you see, MBTE is good enough to give me an office. The MBTE Center of Excellence is not far from here. They get road over there.
So you still go to the office?
So they gave me an office and said you can go whenever you want. But there's a chair, there's a desk, and sometimes I go there in the morning or in the evening. And if I have some gathering to see friends or others, we go there. And occasionally also we have a meeting of this innovation committee. He gave us a very good secretary to look at this project and see the ones we can. So there is something to do.
Do you still have friends around that you socialize with?
Yes. There were my former staff of Kasdaria. One or two are around. And of course, my wife has a large family. So the Remawa, Rimi people. So they keep one busy. My own personal family are very small, only in Katsina. So that's one way. Maybe because there are always some happening here and there. For example, even yesterday, we went on an outing, seek a bride for a boy. So there are events here and there to keep one busy. But the main thing now is this little bit of job of the innovation committee.
How is family life for you? I mean, how many wives and children do you have?
I have only one wife. My first wife is late. So I have 8 children. All of them are grown up. So sometimes we wake up for days. We'll be the only 2
in the house.
Except when we have visitors. The only thing one could do would be to go out and visit. I visit Abu Gidado. I visit Aliyu Atta, the former IG, who was also a classmate.
Right.
But he too has just moved to Kaduna. That's another company. Life is not bad at all.
Yeah.
No. And occasionally, God would be so kind as to drop in somebody like you who would want to know what you are doing.
Yes. Thank you, Engineer Musa Daji. I must ask, this Daji, does it have any special meaning?
You know Daji Ngomna in Katsina?
I've heard about it, yes.
Just after Kofa Durbi.
Yes.
It used to be a big forest reserve.
Yes.
During the colonial days.
Yes.
My father was a messenger in the forest reserve, and we had a house in the middle
of the forest.
Even the colonial forestry officer used to stay there. So I was born there. That's how the name Daji.
That's where the Daji comes in.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And I must say, viewers, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation with Engineer Musa Daji Abdullahi, and you have heard where the Daji comes from. Until we meet in another edition of Reminiscences, thank you for joining us.